everybody, it's Briar Harvey. Welcome to another episode of Systems Are Messy, and I am here with my beautiful guest for the day, Althea Wiles it's Rose of Sharon, right?
Rose of Sharon, yes.
Tell us about yourself, my dear.
Well, I've been a florist for 25 years and I've owned the Rose of Sharon for 22. I'm 50-50 right brain, left brain, so I love the systems and the analytical part as well as the creative part. And Briar and I have worked together a couple of times on some of the systems and getting those cleaned up because I like them less messy.
So it is, I have to say, we're recording this February 11th. It is Valentine's Day week. So it's got to be sheer and utter insanity in your life right now.
Well, I'm organized, so it's getting there, but today is okay. I had time to do this call. We're prepped. We've got everything planned. I've marked off how many roses we've sold. I've ordered extra reds because we'd sold out already. So we're good to go. I have my, you can't see it here, but I have my little system for keeping track of how many roses I've sold in each color. And I recognized last night that we had already sold out. So this system is not messy. It can't be.
Hey, it's got to be functional too.
It is absolutely functional. And it is the best one I found in 20 years for keeping track of how many roses you've sold in what color on an ongoing basis, because we're constantly getting orders in and using different flowers for design. So you've got to track it on both sides, both what you've used and what you've sold.
God, so much fun. So how do you keep track of all of this?
I use a variety of different systems. I have a point of sale system for taking in the orders. I use Google Calendar and all the different Google products basically for keeping up with things that I did last year, so I can refer back to my notes and not have to recreate everything. Like this system that I use for counting roses, I just recreate the sheet each year because I've saved it. I use Dubsado to work with my clients, my wedding clients, so they get their contracts and their invoices online, and I'm not having to mail stuff back and forth. Let's see, what else do I use? I use Notion. I'm moving over into Notion more and more to keep track of the project side of weddings and events. Every day to-do lists, what my employees are responsible for, what I need them to take care of, because that changes day to day. Oh, I think those are the main ones. Did I leave anything else that I had sent you?
I don't think so. I think we have, but it's a lot for you because you have different streams. So
I do.
One of the reasons that I really wanted to talk to you is because a lot of my clients do many different things. And so they pull from a lot of different places, and those can't always be existing in the same place. They just, by necessity, they don't always exist in the same place.
I forgot Airtable and Zapier. Those are the other two.
There you go.
Yes. So I have streams. I have the wedding stream, which it's a long-term project for each wedding, but it can vary. It can be a 3-week planning period, or it can be an 18-month planning period. And then I have our everyday orders where people will order online, or they'll call and place an order, and I'm delivering fairly quickly within a day or two. Or like Valentine's Day, hopefully they order about a week ahead of time, but about half of our orders will come in on Valentine's Day.
I was just about to ask,
Yes.
What's the percentage there? Half?
Half, yeah. So we've got the orders that we've had, we've prepped, we've designed, we've scheduled for delivery, and then we have new ones come in that we have to design and slot into the delivery and get everything out between 8 and 5 before people go home for work, except for the people who work at schools who leave at 3, factories who leave at 3, people who are at home because they're out doing errands and picking up kids and things like that. So there's a lot of moving parts on Valentine's Day itself, and then half of our orders come in on Valentine's Day, and we have to slot those in.
And you have mentor, correct? So you have mentoring clients as well. So that's a completely separate system entirely.
Right. Yes. Yep. That one I use Zoom a lot for that. I also use Zoom for the wedding clients for consultations and initial meetings. But for the mentoring, we do use Zoom, and then Google Docs and Notion more and more to to track what we've talked about and keep records of that, and so that they can go back and look at it.
Well, I would love to take a peek at your Notion. If you want to go ahead and share your screen with us.
So I have been using Notion for less than a year, I think. And it obviously is a incredibly robust program and does tons of different things. And I've gone through, like everybody who gets into it, I've gone through several different setups on how I wanted to organize it. Briar and I broke it down at one point where each of these areas and projects and resources were a separate workspace. And then since then, as I've gotten more familiar and more comfortable with it, I've brought it all back into one workspace, and at the same time started sharing it with my employees for various things. So I had everything in separate workspaces, and then I've recently pulled them back in and started sharing with my employees so that they can do things like content for Instagram and blogs and things like that. So the main way that I use it is I have started doing daily lists for checklists, and I think the drop-down feature is one of my absolute favorites because I can hide everything that I don't need to see, like Victoria's work or any of the other employees. And I like to also nest the drop-downs within the drop-downs. So I've got projects that I might have to do repetitively, but I don't need a full project for them. So like payroll that I do every other week, I can drop it into the hold period for 2 weeks, don't have to worry about it, and then pull it back up when I need to remember, like, this is payroll week. I needed to remember that because I wasn't going to think about it with Valentine's Day. So I've got just the checklist for my priority items. I've also got a database that I've listed a lot of the main things that each employee is responsible for.
So when does it go into the database versus being just a checkbox?
The database is more for reference. So this is more for reference. So like Anna is my virtual assistant. So she handles the invoices and the Pinterest things and sending out birthday and anniversary cards and things like that. I don't need to check on that all the time. So I just leave it in here. And then when it pops up in my brain at 2 a.m., I can look at it the next morning and go, okay, she's got it. I don't have to worry about it. Let it go. But if it's something that starts to be a little bit more where I need to pay attention or ask her what the status is, I'll drop it into the priority stuff checklist. And that used to be a paper thing where I would just jot notes down and scratch them off when I was done. Now I'm putting them in here. I actually haven't used my paper planner for 3 months, I think now.
Wow, that's amazing because you've been using that thing for years.
I have, yes. I have been a paper planner note jotter for years. And once I put this in with the checklist, and I actually don't check things off very often. I will delete them if it's a one-off, or I'll move it back down to hold. But it does help. And then some days I'll go through and I'll check off the things as I'm doing the day and then delete them at night. But yes, I've almost completely quit using paper for my reminder notes. So this is just a reference of who is in charge of what types of things. And sometimes when I get a new employee, I'll shift things around, or if somebody's getting overwhelmed and overloaded, I'll move things around. And so this sort of shows me how much each person has on their plate. Mine isn't full because mine is in other places, but everybody else's is fairly full. And then I have the projects that are the items that are task lists. These are in another database that are specific to a certain event or project. So if I need to get something like a credit card number from a client, I put a to-do list, a to-do task in that is related to that client's project.
And I see you've got a lot of relationships in here. And
I do. I have a relationship for content, which not every relationship applies to every task. So I've got several different relationships that may or may not be applicable for each task that I create. So like this one is a wedding client, and the business project isn't going to apply because that's more of my internal working on the business type projects. The people, the CMC people, that's the mentoring. That's not going to apply because this is a wedding client. The vendor isn't going to apply because, again, this is not where I'm trying to network with vendors. Content is for Instagram and things like that. So each task may have one or two of those relationships filled in, but rarely does it have all of them. This one, let's see. So I have this set up so I can look at it in different ways. I can look at it based on who I've assigned a task to. So sometimes it's assigned to my virtual assistant. Sometimes it's assigned to my design assistant. So a lot of them are assigned to me. This is only the next, I think this is the next month's worth of tasks that I need to remember to do. So I can look at it based on that. Most of the time I look at it based on what's coming up for me and how high priority it is. I've been looking at different ways of tagging it and sorting it to see what works best. I seem to keep coming back to this where it's not necessarily date specific, but it's this week or next week or later this month type specific.
So ranges.
Ranges, but right now I'm not familiar enough with the formulas to be able to set that up to automatically put it in the right bucket.
I feel you on that one. The Notion formulas is like this final unexplored frontier for me. I feel like there's so much stuff that I could be doing with formulas that I am not yet, and I can't. But
I learned formulas in Microsoft Access. I've learned them in Airtable, and they're just slightly different enough in Notion that I haven't wrapped my head around them yet. So everything is a manual move. So I'm thinking I'll probably have to do this at least once a week where I just move it from bucket to bucket. The high priority, low effort, I like the idea of that where you have the grid of if it's a high priority, high effort. It's not working for me. I'm probably going to delete this soon because I tag it and then I just ignore it. So I move it based on what I really need to do today or this week. So probably going to get rid of that fairly soon. But this is between this list of don't forget this today and this list of these are things you said you were going to do today. This pretty much keeps me on track if I'm at my desk. So it's everything but the design work.
So how often do you go through?
I keep Notion open all day long.
And how often are you reviewing and removing things that don't work? Do you do that daily? Do you do that weekly?
Because it's sort of fun for me, I tend to do it on the weekends when I'm not officially working. So this is my relaxing playtime to go mess with the databases.
Planning for fun. It's okay. You're in a safe space here where that sort of thing is okay.
Thank you. Yeah, this is not hours that are recorded because I try and track how many hours I work each week. So when I'm playing with that type of thing, it's usually it's not really counted as work. So it tends to be once a week on the weekend. So probably won't do it this weekend because I'm going to be just dead tired.
No, I think you should take this weekend off, my friend.
We'll see. I get into a place where I'm so used to being busy that the downtime is actually more stressful than playing on the database. So at certain times of the year, I'll keep doing that. So yeah, about once a week, I'll go through and start making changes. And then if I do have something that sort of hits me in the middle of the night of, oh, that's how that should work, I can usually implement that fairly quickly.
Cool. So how often, I'm guessing not often, with as intensive as this is, but how often do things slip through the cracks?
So far, they haven't.
Wow.
I don't do slipping through the cracks. I'll write things down in 6 different places because if I let something slip through the cracks, I will stress it for the next 6 months.
Right.
So that is worse to me than having multiple reminders in different places. And, I set an alarm for this meeting, even though I've known about it for a week. It's been on my calendar every single day. I set an alarm. I was at my desk an hour ahead of time, but I set an alarm.
So then having a system that allows you to dump all that stuff in really frees up a lot of bandwidth for you,
Yes,
would be my
yes,
guess.
it's crucial for me to be able to drop it out of my brain, but know where to find it and where to find it quickly.
All right. Well, if there was one thing that you wish you did better in all of this, what would it be?
The formulas, learning the formulas so that I could take stuff off of the plate.
You know, and I feel like that is the next step, isn't it? Being able to automate the things that you do regularly so that they just come back up for you.
Right, yes. I'm slowly moving things out of a couple of other different systems that I've been using for several years. Like I have a program that I use that has been sort of my project management program. And I'm used to seeing the notices there. So I'm slowly moving them over to Notion as I'm comfortable that I'm going to see those reminders in the Notion format. But as soon as I get to that point, I'll start focusing on the formulas to make that a little bit more automatic so that I don't have to say this week, next week, a month from now. You said you were going to do it in December, so put it on the list for now. Actually do it.
All right. Well, is there anything that you're working on that you want to share?
As far as how I've set stuff up?
In general, is there anything, this is my for my entrepreneurs, but are you taking new florist tutoring clients?
Absolutely, yes.
There we go. Thank you.
You switched tracks on me. Yes, I'm always interested in working with new mentoring clients and coaching clients. I started off I had an amazing mentor when I started in this industry 25 years ago. And I'm at a place where I want to start doing that for other people a little bit more. So yes, I am more than ready to take on more coaching clients and get other people interested in this industry. It's a great industry, but it's a lot of hard work and it's hard to stay organized in it.
Yeah, I mean, just the volume that
Mm-hmm.
you have to deal with is a lot.
It is. And even with that, I am not a huge florist. I'm a small home studio. But, we, on our everyday orders that are not our main focus, we maybe do 5 a week. And then at Valentine's Day, we do 90-ish in one day. So that's a huge mindset shift for that week on how to get it done. And yeah, that type of volume, it's just a different level from what we do on a normal week. And even if we're working with the same type of volume for flowers on a wedding, it's one event rather than 90 miniature events that we're working on. So
well, and the same would be true, I guess, for other holidays, isn't it? I'm sure Mother's Day is not as big, but
Mother's Day is a bigger overall holiday, but it tends to be a little bit more spread out. So even though Mother's Day is on a Sunday, we generally get orders for delivery Thursday through Sunday. Whereas Valentine's Day, and we get orders placed ahead of time. So we know what we're going to deliver. Well, we don't get many Sunday orders on Sunday for Mother's Day. With Valentine's Day, it's all of one day, and half the orders come in on that day. So Mother's Day is easy compared to Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you have to be a bit of a mind reader, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, you have to guess what you're going to sell based on your history, what you've sold last year. The day of the week that Valentine's Day falls on affects the sales numbers, with weekends and Fridays being lower than middle of the week. So you have to adjust your income there, or your purchases there. You have to adjust based on if you're growing or if you're holding steady in general. You have to guess what's going to be popular this year. Like, last year we sold a mix of all colors of roses. And so that's what I ordered this year. This year I've sold red, only red. I can look at it. I've sold 2 dozen pinks, half a dozen whites, and half a dozen blush, and 1 dozen purple. And everything else has been red.
And everything else has been red. So the question next, not about planning at all. I guess kind of about planning. What do you do with those leftover flowers?
Cry. That means I messed up. In the past few years, I haven't had a ton of leftovers. The ones that I've had have been not prime pieces, just because of the volume. We do have breakage and things like that. I give all my employees flowers to take home because they've done a great job with helping. I'll give a few to nursing homes or special clients. I'll just take some thank you gifts out. But really, I try not to over order. I try to have to order. I'd rather have to order extra stuff in the day before Valentine's Day than be stuck with a whole bunch of stuff after the day after, because nobody buys flowers the day after Valentine's Day unless there's a funeral.
There's no half-priced floral day like there is a half-priced chocolate day, because I got to tell you, in my house, we celebrate half-priced chocolate day.
I still have to put in all the work. If you want just flowers out of the cooler, sure, I'll do half price. But if I'm designing it, no, I'm tired.
No, I can't say as I blame you. No, but I can't see there being a whole lot of half-priced floral displays on Saturday.
No. So, yeah.
Well, this has been great. It's because the planning elements of a physical business are just significantly different when we are looking at product. You have to keep track of inventory. You have to keep track of staff. There's just so many layers to that when it comes to your systems and to your organization.
If you want, I can show you the Notion page that I set up for Valentine's Day.
Yes, please. I'd love to see it.
Okay, so this was actually one of the first project pages I set up. So the ones I've got for weddings are a little bit different. But I've got just some general information about it, some tasks that I needed to do, which I've actually done this, and it is marked done. I realized that the tasks, if they're in this part of a project page, don't show you if they're done or not.
No.
So one of the things that I did was linked that database inside it so it shows if it's done or not. And I have this filtered so it only shows the incomplete projects right now. I did a linked database for the different items that we were doing marketing on. So each of these is one of our specials, and this is filtered for Instagram right now. And then within those, after we created the actual task, we created the Instagram post and all of that. I put that information, so next year I will have what we said. We'll have the artwork. We can adjust it if we need to, but I'll be able to look back instead of having to dig through Instagram to find it. I've got it on each one of these now. Did the same thing for Facebook, for our blog, for the website. So we have the content actually covers all of those different things. When we planned on publishing it, who was dealing with it, the different pictures that we wanted to include, because some of them have multiples, the actual tasks. So that was just related to content, which is a huge thing for a holiday like this. I mean, it's basically a mini launch every Valentine's Day. I didn't add these in here, but I'll show you a wedding one as well where I have the inspiration photos. I added in, this is actually the content again, so that we could sort of see it in a little bit easier, where we could actually see the pictures a little bit better. And I think I added in several, I re-linked that same content database because I was needing to see the different areas, the different, Facebook at one time, Instagram, and I needed to sort of see them all together. So I just kept linking it in over and over and filtering it in different ways.
One of my favorite things about Notion is that you can do that. I need to see it this way and this way. No, but I need to see it that way at the same time.
Right. So next year, hopefully, what I'll do after Valentine's Day is I'll go in and I'll make some just general notes about what worked, what didn't work, what the weather was like, how many employees we had, all of that.
Oh gosh, I bet the weather is really a factor for you, isn't it?
It is. Like Thursday's supposed to be 35 degrees. If there's any wind at all, I have to wrap every arrangement that goes out of here in plastic so that it doesn't get damaged. 5 more degrees, I don't have to worry about it. So yes, it can be a huge factor in it. I also just made some general links. These are all to Google Docs where I have this information, but I was spending a lot of time going into Google, opening up the drive, finding the folder. So I just quickly linked those specifics so that when I need to print it off for a temporary employee, I can go right there instead of taking 3 minutes to find that one file that I know I did last year.
Yeah, the time savings here are just tremendous.
I linked when my wholesale supplier sent me price lists, I dropped that in here as well. I don't know if I'll go back and use this or not, but I thought it was handy information to have. So I have the different suppliers that I use. I did in Airtable, I have the actual list of what my recipes for each arrangement is and then what I needed to order. So I'll keep that in Airtable because it does work a little bit better for that type of data. But then if I had an email where I placed an order, I basically opened up Gmail, went to that email, copied the link and popped it in here. So now I can just click on this and see what I ordered when I go back next year. I can check that real quick.
So great.
And then for my weddings, the thing that's a little bit different. Oh, these are just quick links that I've been making because these are things that I'm constantly, going down 6 different steps to get to that link. And I know I need it over and over. So I just drop them in as quick links so I can quickly get there. Like when I need to schedule a call, instead of having to open up Acuity, find the right link, I've got it linked right here now. So this is a wedding project page, and I've got a checklist of things I need to do when I'm setting up my project so that these are all the different systems that I use, all places that I need to put things, information, the calendar, just to put it on my everyday calendar, those types of things. And then I've got another one for at the end of the project to make sure I get all the accounting done, make sure I mark everything done. So I've got those quick checklists for each project. I've got the links to the other project that's specific to this wedding. So this is the Dubsado link to this wedding. And this is the link to the recipes for this wedding instead of the recipe database in general. It's just specific to this one. In Gmail, I did a search by the main customer's name, so that by their email, and then I again just copied that link and pasted it in here. So now instead of searching through my email, I go here.
You just click the link and it takes you to the search. Gosh, yes. That's fantastic.
When I place an order for flowers, I'll drop that email link in there. And then I just created this database. I haven't filled it in yet. So when I have rental items, I need to make sure that I don't double book something. So I'll put it in this rentals database on how many they rent, what dates they're renting it, things like that. And then when they get returned, so I can quickly mark it as returned. Again, the task database is it's just that general task database filtered for this project. And then my quick reference this is for the proposal that I send out. And I dropped the images in here so that I can quickly go back and reference. This is the style they like. These are the colors. These are the flowers I said we were going to use when I'm placing my order. So all of that's right there in one place. So that's the wedding setup. And I'm sure I'll tweak this a little bit more. Notion basically is pulled together everything that I need for the wedding, everything. And most of it's just links, but things like this where I can just go, this wedding, here's my inspiration, and I'm not digging through all my Google files to find that again.
Right, because it is that time.
Like it would. Yes. And it doesn't sound like digging through your Google files would be that big a deal, but I've got 10 years of Google history. I started using Google when it was invite only. And so I've got, I have to go into the drive and into the year and into this. And so it's, it's multiple steps down to find it and then hope I remembered to label it correctly.
And
so that I can search
is always the question. Did you label it correctly? Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty good about it, but every once in a while I will misspell a name and then I can't find anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's my project. That's my project pages that I'm working on now and getting those so that they're very, very useful, so that I can quickly put that information in or copy it if I have another wedding that's similar, because sometimes we do get similar inspirations.
Well, we will be leaving
You
all
look
of
a
your
little bit overwhelmed by all the bits.
I'll be dropping all of your information into the show notes so that people can get a hold of you when they want a florist and when
they want a florist,
when they want a floral coach. Yeah.
Yes, if they're interested in becoming a florist, if they're a new florist and feeling a bit overwhelmed, I'd love to talk to them. If they're getting married soon, I'm pretty local to the Northwest Arkansas area. I will travel, or I can help you find somebody that is more local to you, and that, the questions to ask to find a good florist that you connect to.
Well, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for your tour of Notion, and
you're welcome.
Do this again sometimes. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.